This video will provide you an introduction and overview of the endocrine system. You can find topics on the endocrine system in chapter 16 of your textbook. Here are the learning objectives of the screencast. Explain the functions of the endocrine system. List several major processes that are controlled by the endocrine system. Compare the endocrine system to the nervous system, and define a hormone. The function of the endocrine system is to coordinate and direct the activity of the body's cells, and it does this along with the nervous system. The nervous system is the fast controlling system of the body. The endocrine system is the slow controlling counterpart to the nervous system. The endocrine system often controls processes that occur continuously and are related to homeostasis, or that occur over a very long period of time, such as growth and development. There are several major processes occurring in the human body that are regulated and controlled by the endocrine system. This would include reproduction, the growth and development of the gonads, maintaining the function of those gonads, and the process of the growth and development of the unborn is principally controlled by the endocrine system. Growth and development, going from a newborn to a full adult, and all the changes that occur during that process are controlled principally by the endocrine system. Maintaining the proper level of ions in the blood and other associated bodily fluids. Maintaining water balance, that is, making sure the body doesn't take on too much water or lose too much water, as well as nutrient balance, such as blood sugar levels and blood calcium levels. That is controlled principally by hormones produced by the endocrine system. The mobilization of white blood cells against invading microorganisms, mainly controlled by the endocrine system. Much of maintaining homeostasis, or maintaining the internal environment of the body within normal limits, is governed and controlled by the endocrine system. And then finally, metabolism, the sum of all the chemical reactions that occur in the body, are mainly controlled by the endocrine system. As you are aware, I think it is always to your advantage to study a new concept and learn a new concept if you can compare it to a concept or information that you're already familiar with. We have taken a great deal of time learning the nervous system, and as the endocrine system similarly is a controlling system, it has some similarities with the nervous system. And so I'd like to discuss different aspects, or introduce different aspects of the endocrine system by comparing it to the nervous system. So first, when we look at the basic functional unit of the nervous system, of course, it was the neuron. The neuron is the cell that communicates with the glandular cells and the muscle cells of the body, which the nervous system controls. In the endocrine system, it is the glandular cells. These cells produce hormones, and that's the chemical messenger. In the nervous system, those neurons were organized into nuclei in the central nervous system, or ganglia in the peripheral nervous system. If you recall, in the endocrine system, they're organized into glands, endocrine glands specifically. In the nervous system, the method of communication was through neurotransmitters. A neuron generates a nerve impulse or action potential. That action potential travels to the end of the axons, where neurotransmitters are released. They cross the synaptic cleft and bind receptors on the receiving cell. In the endocrine system, hormones are released, and it's hormones that end up binding receptors on the target cells. Route of communication, So action potentials moved through nerve fibers to the uh, axon terminals in the synapses. In the endocrine system, hormones are secreted into blood vessels, and then the blood takes the hormones to the target cells throughout the body. The nervous system, when we look at speed and duration, the nervous system is the fast-acting control system. It responds within milliseconds after a stimulus is received. And the nervous system, the neurotransmitters have a very short half-life. They bind to the receptors and they come off, so they are short acting. Whereas the endocrine system is a much slower system in terms of time from stimulus to um, response, so it's slow acting. And once hormones are secreted into the blood, they have a longer duration of activity. So in terms of speed, the endocrine system is certainly slower, but in terms of duration, compared to the nervous system, it has a longer duration in terms of action. So that's how the nervous system and endocrine system compare. Both are uh, controlling and coordinating systems of the body, coordinating and controlling the activity of the other organ systems. Hormones are produced by special cells which are organized into endocrine glands. So let's take a moment to talk about endocrine glands to make sure you understand what they are. If you recall from our tissues lab, glands are composed of cuboidal epithelial cells, and there's two types of glands. There are exocrine glands, which secrete substances outside of the body, and there are endocrine glands, which secrete substances inside the body, specifically into the bloodstream. What you are looking at here is a cross-section of the pancreas, and I chose to use this cross-section of the pancreas because the pancreas contains both exocrine glands and endocrine glands. So here's the pancreas here, and if we took a little cross-section here and then turned it up so you could see it, it would look something like this. We have exocrine glands shown in blue and endocrine glands shown in pink. So what is an exocrine gland? Exocrine gland secrete substances outside the body. So uh, glands such like sweat glands, salivary glands, these glands in the pancreas which secrete substances into the small intestine. Those are exocrine glands. Now you may say, Chuck, how is this an exocrine gland if it's secreting substances into the small intestine? Isn't the small intestine inside the body? Well, believe it or not, your digestive tract is considered outside of the body because it's this tube that runs from mouth to anus, or as I like to say, from rooter to tutor, and it opens at both ends. So technically, anything that is in your digestive tract is technically outside of the body. So this exocrine gland of the pancreas secretes bicarbonate and some digestive enzymes into the small intestine. So technically, it's secreting substances outside the body. It's an exocrine gland. Exocrine glands have ducts which lead to the external surface. In this case, this is in the pancreas, of course, and this duct will be leading to the lumen of the small intestine. But similarly, if this were, say, a sweat gland, this duct would be leading to the surface of the skin. Also in the pancreas, we have what are called endocrine glands, right? And endocrine glands secrete substances inside the body. So you have these cells that are secreting their substances, in this case hormones, into the interstitial fluid. And then from the interstitial fluid, it diffuses into nearby blood vessels, and then they're carried throughout the body. So endocrine glands secrete substances ultimately into the blood. Endocrine glands in the pancreas secrete insulin, which lowers blood sugar, and glucagon, which raises blood sugar. And you'll learn more about these two hormones produced by the endocrine glands of the pancreas later on in our discussion of the endocrine system. So that brings us to this question. So what exactly is a hormone anyway? A hormone is a chemical that's produced by cells in the body that then enters the blood and travels to different parts of the body. There, they can affect and direct the activity of other cells, which we call target cells, throughout the body. Hormones are long-distance chemical messengers or signals. When a hormone finds a cell that has receptors for that hormone, it binds those receptors, and that's how it causes changes in that, what we call target cells. So hormones are basically like neurotransmitters. The only difference is, rather than being secreted into a synapse, they are secreted into the blood, and then they're taken throughout the body, and they can bind to the receptors of their target cells, which are found all along the outer surface of the plasma membrane of their target cells, not just in the synapse, which is what we saw when we looked at neurotransmitters. But in all other ways, hormones are like neurotransmitters. They bind the receptors to the target cells and then cause changes inside that cell. And what kind of changes can occur in a target cell after a hormone binds it? Well, very similar changes to what happens when a neurotransmitter binds to its receptors. It can alter the permeability of the plasma membrane, opening and closing ion channels. It can stimulate the synthesis of enzymes or other proteins. It can deactivate enzymes, or it can cause the target cell to secrete substances, or even stimulate that target cell to go through mitosis and cytokinesis. In our discussion of the endocrine system, we're only going to focus on major endocrine organs, like the hypothalamus, the thyroid, the adrenal glands, the pancreas, etc. And many of these organs are dual organs. That is, they secrete hormones, but they also have other functions outside of secreting hormones. So they're not exclusively endocrine organs. For example, the pancreas, because it secretes digestive enzymes, it's also part of the digestive system. But I also want you to understand that there are many other organs that we're not going to talk about as we discuss the endocrine system that also secrete hormones, such as the kidneys and the stomach and the small intestine and other organs that you're going to cover in AMP2, and you're going to learn that they also secrete hormones. So we're just going to, I don't want to say we're going to scratch the surface, but we are certainly not going to cover every gland, tissue, or organ that secretes hormones, just the major endocrine organs. Now let's review the learning objectives of the screencast, explain the functions of the endocrine system, list several major processes that are controlled by the endocrine system, compare the endocrine system to the nervous system, and define a hormone.